always in the spotlight. They didn't always sing. But behind the kits, in the shadows of stadium lights, these drummers shaped the sound of rock music between the 60s and the 80s. They weren't just timekeepers, they were architects, groove builders, sonic weapons. And while they didn't always get the credit, their beats are burned into history. Here are 10 drummers who quietly made rock history, and whose playing you've definitely heard, even if you didn't know their name. Number 10, Clem Burke, Blondie. Clem Burke was the engine behind Blondie, and he never sat still. From the outside, Blondie looked like a pop band with punk edges, but inside the mix, it was Clem's drumming that gave the songs their pulse. Intense, creative, and barely in control. He could shift gears in an instant. A disco groove on Heart of Glass, then punk fury on One Way or Another. Even his hi-hat work had character. Sharp, expressive, like it was saying something. Dream, dream, Burke was influenced by Keith Moon, and you can feel it. The flourishes, the fills, the constant motion, all without overshadowing the song. And when Blondie exploded in the late 70s, Clem's drumming gave their sound both backbone and edge. He never needed to be flashy. He just had to keep Blondie moving forward. And somehow, he always made it feel like a chase scene. Number 9. Hal Blaine, The Wrecking Crew. You might not know his name, but you've definitely heard his drums. Hal Blaine was the quiet giant behind thousands of classic tracks. As a core member of the legendary Wrecking Crew, he wasn't tied to just one band. He was the band, every band. His resume reads like a history of pop and rock. The Beach Boys, Simon and Garfunkel, the Byrds, the Mamas, and the Papas. That explosive intro on Be My Baby, that's Hal. The heartbeat of Good Vibrations, that's Hal too. He played on over 150 United States top 10 hits, more than any other drummer in history. He could go from cinematic flourishes to tight pop perfection all before lunch. Hal didn't need the spotlight. He just needed a pair of sticks, a studio, and a chart, and he'd turn it into something unforgettable. He was the ghost in the groove, and without him, the 60s and 70s wouldn't have sounded the same. Number 8, Ringo Starr, The Beatles. She's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care. He's been underestimated for decades, but real drummers know. Ringo Starr wasn't flashy, he wasn't fast, but he was right. Always exactly where the song needed him to be. When the Beatles changed music, Ringo was their anchor. From the swung feel of Come Together to the ghostly toms in A Day in the Life, he played with restraint, soul, and a touch of unpredictability. And when he let loose, like on Rain or She Said, it was controlled chaos. He pioneered matched grip in an era of traditionalists. He made fills melodic. And perhaps most importantly, he served the song instead of his ego, something a lot of drummers still struggle with. Without Ringo, the Beatles wouldn't have had that feel. It wasn't just about keeping time, it was about creating a vibe. Ringo didn't just play behind legends, he was one. Number 7, Roger Hawkins, Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section. He never toured the world. He didn't trash hotel rooms. But Roger Hawkins played drums on some of the most timeless tracks in American music history. As the rhythmic backbone of the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section known as the Swampers, Hawkins was a groove machine. His feel was deep, laid back, and soaked in soul. One more time, that tight pocket on Aretha Franklin's Respect, Roger. The effortless swing on Wilson Pickett's Land of 1,000 Dances, that's him too. Even when he backed rock legends like Paul Simon or Traffic, he brought that same Southern flavor. Subtle, warm, and human. He wasn't flashy, and he didn't solo. But when you needed a take that felt alive, you called Roger Hawkins. In a world of big personalities and fast hands, he was the quiet guy who never missed. And in doing so, he helped shape the sound of soul, R&B, and Southern rock, one perfect pocket at a time. Number 6. Phil Rudd, AC/DC. Phil Rudd wasn't about drum solos or speed, he was about groove. AC/DC's entire sound, that relentless driving punch, rests on Rudd's rock-solid timing. From Highway to Hell to Back in Black, his drumming is deceptively simple. No extra fills, no showboating, just pure, unshakable rhythm that hits like a sledgehammer. Malcolm Young once said, "Phil's the engine. Without him, we're a sports car without the motor." And he's right. Listen to Back in Black. It's not flashy, it's perfect. Every snare crack is placed like a nail in the frame of a house. Rudd had a rare gift. He knew when not to play. That space, that pulse, is what gives AC/DC its swing and its unstoppable stomp. He didn't need to be loud to be powerful. Phil Rudd simply locked in, and the world moved with him. Number 5. Charlie Watts, The Rolling Stones. While Jagger strutted and Keith staggered, Charlie Watts just sat there, locked in, clean suit, deadpan face, and made the Rolling Stones swing like no one else could. He wasn't a rock star. He was a jazz drummer pretending to be in a rock band. And that's exactly what gave the Stones their secret sauce. Where most drummers hammered the beat, Charlie danced with it. There was looseness in his playing, a kind of swagger you can't teach. On tracks like Gimme Shelter, his drums are like a heartbeat inside a hurricane. On Honky Tonk Women, his cowbell and kick drum become pure groove. And on Start Me Up, that opening hi-hat is as iconic as the riff that follows. He famously hit slightly behind the beat, a technique that added tension and cool. He also famously hated touring, hated fame, and once punched Mick Jagger for calling him "my drummer." But that was Charlie. All class, all groove, all feel. He didn't need flash. He was the feel. And without him, the Stones wouldn't have rolled. I was born and I cried my heart. Number 4. Jeff Porcaro, Toto, Session Legend. Not know the name, but your favorite drummer definitely does. Jeff Porcaro was the king of pocket. Groove so tight, so clean, it sounded like a machine, only better, because it breathed. As the drummer for Toto and a first call session player, Jeff played on over 1,000 albums. Michael Jackson's Thriller? Yep, that's him on Human Nature. Steely Dan, Boz Scaggs, Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen. If it had drums in the late 70s or 80s, there's a chance it was Jeff. His signature? The Rosanna Shuffle, a hybrid of Bernard Purdy's Ghost Notes, John Bonham's swing, and Jeff's own magic. It's one of the most studied grooves in modern drumming, and still nearly impossible to replicate. He didn't play loud, he played right. Every note had intention, every silence had weight. Porcaro passed away tragically young in 1992. But his ghost lives on in every drummer who knows it's not what you play, it's how you play it. Number 3. Levon Helm, The Band. Levon Helm didn't just play the drums, he sang from behind them. And somehow, he did both with soul to spare. As the heartbeat of the band, Helm brought a rare combination: deep southern groove, tight pocket, and one of the most expressive voices in rock. His drumming was earthy, swinging, and perfectly imperfect. Always human, always alive. Listen to The Weight, Up on Cripple Creek, or Ophelia. He wasn't just keeping time, he was telling the story. And when he opened his mouth to sing, it was like hearing the voice of America's backroads and dusty towns. Helm's style came straight from Arkansas roadhouses. Part blues, part funk, part front porch. He hit hard when needed, but mostly he let the song breathe. No ego, just groove and grit. Even as the band backed Dylan or stole the show at Woodstock, Helm never chased the spotlight. He was the soul of the band behind the kit and behind the mic.
Back up when he's in defeat.
Number 2, Al Jackson Jr., Booker T, and the MGs. Al Jackson Jr. was the definition of less is more. No flash, no fuss, just a deep, unshakable groove that laid the foundation for soul, R&B, and funk. As the drummer for Booker T and the MGs, and the in-house rhythm section at Stax Records, Al backed legends like Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, and Wilson Pickett. That crisp snare on Green Onions, that's him. The tight, controlled snap behind Respect and Try a Little Tenderness, that's Al. Played like a human metronome, but with feel. Every beat was perfectly placed, but never stiff. You could dance to it, cry to it, or cruise down a Memphis street at midnight with it in your bones. Musicians called him the human timekeeper. Producers built entire tracks around his pocket, because when Al Jackson was in the room, the groove was already there. He was tragically murdered in 1975, but his legacy never left. His drums didn't just keep time, they defined it. Number 1, Jim Keltner.
If you live the life you please, well, it's alright.
He was never in a famous band. He didn't headline tours. But Jim Keltner quietly became the most trusted drummer in rock. The guy legends called when they needed feel over flash. Keltner's playing was subtle, soulful, and strangely perfect. He was the go-to drummer for George Harrison, John Lennon, Bob Dylan, and Neil Young. He even played with Steely Dan, Eric Clapton, Randy Newman, and the Traveling Wilburys. Why? Because Jim didn't just play drums. He listened. He filled space with texture, not volume. He could give you the lightest ghost note or the fattest groove, and both would land exactly where they belonged.
As long as you got somewhere to lay, well, it's alright.
From watching the wheels to handle with care, his touch was unmistakable. Loose but locked in, slippery but solid. He never needed the spotlight, he became the spotlight once the track started. And while the frontmen got the fame, Keltner was in the back making history, one groove at a time.